Let me ask you, Zeb, how far would you go for love?
Pretty dang far, man.
Would you spend every single day trying to convince someone that they loved you?
Um, Probably not. That sounds kind of creepy.
Yeah, cause someone on Facebook posted the like something from 50 First Dates, the Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler movie,
hmm
where he meets the girl, falls in like
Yeah, and then every time that she goes to sleep, she forgets everything that they've done.
yeah, her day like starts
Yeah,
over.
and so in the end, he has to convince her every single day that they are dating.
Yeah, and that's I don't have the energy for that. Like
Right.
the first time, I just don't. Thinking about that is just one. It's really weird. Two, like how can you convince someone like, especially like at the end of the movie, spoiler alert for 50 First Dates,
Right.
they have a kid.
How does she that would be mentally destructive to someone that forgets every single day.
Yeah, and
Just gonna say, waking up pregnant and the last thing you remember is being in a car wreck, oh man.
Not even
Woo.
knowing you were in a car wreck.
Yeah.
Like she, for however many days are in a month, she has to remember that or you have to convince her like, hey, in your stomach is a person.
Right.
Like that's 9 months. I don't know how many days depending on the months, but it's like that's
a
yeah,
lot.
you're right. That is mentally destructive for a person, and again, I don't have the energy for that. I mean, if I was thinking of from like an asshole point of view, I would kind of use her as like a way of trying out like pickup lines, like seeing which one would like.
Oh my god. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, just have a list 100 long. That one didn't work. I'll just try the next one.
Yeah, let's try
tomorrow
this
morning.
one. Like
After she's disgusted and walks away, it's okay. I'll see you tomorrow.
That is don't use that one. So I mean, from that point of view, because no one's getting hurt, you're just saying like, hey, which pickup line piques her interest? Like, okay, I'll remember that one for later, and then you start. I mean, I'm not saying try to sleep with her every single time. You're just like, let's see what works. Hey, beautiful, you pig. Okay, don't use that one. So I don't know. I saw that and it sounded really interesting, or not interesting. It sounded more like a pain in the ass trying to convince someone over and over again, because you really do have to convince yourself the love at first sight kind of thing.
Right.
Because again, we're trying to remember that movie. Their first date wasn't like, oh, this is the one I'm going to try to convince to love me for the rest of
Right.
her life.
That's one of the things that kind of got me about it was like, Adam, why are you trying so hard for this
Exactly.
person that's just not going to
'Cause
really remember anything?
I think I also remember at the end of the movie, they were in like the Atlantic, right? Like they were on a boat.
They're on a boat.
So you had to convince her, like, I know you remember yourself like on someone's birthday or your birthday or whatever.
Right.
That, but instead you're out in the middle of the Atlantic
Whoa.
with me. So, and you love me, just so you know.
Right. He makes a video, recording that she sees every time she wakes up, and it's like, what if just randomly one day that just doesn't convince her, and so she just wakes up and is
It just doesn't
just
work.
who are you? What's going on? Why are you trying to trick me into believing these things? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I just wanted to get your opinion on that because I kept thinking like, man, leave it to movies to have that kind of just fake love thing. I don't know. Anyways, we're gonna move on to our first topic of the day, and that because we've been off mic for a while because just life. Life keeps coming up. You're working a lot. I'm working a lot. It just happens. So our first topic, and it happened, I think maybe a week or two ago, but for some reason, someone asked James Cameron, because of James Cameron.
He's a big director. He's well known.
Oh yeah, he did the Terminator, the first two Terminators, Titanic, Avatar, and the 20 sequels it's getting. So he got interviewed by someone in The Guardian. Someone asked him about Wonder Woman.
Right.
Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to read the whole quote, but, in a nutshell, what he said was that, it's Hollywood, patting themselves on the back, Wonder Woman it's misguided. She's an objectified icon. it's just male Hollywood doing the same thing, blah blah blah. And you know, for the most part, I was like, okay, I don't know about the movie, but the character, like back when she was first created, I could see that. I could see why people would think she's an objectified icon because you know, originally I think it was like if a man puts her gauntlets together, she's like trapped.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Don't forget, her creator was into
BDSM.
Yeah,
heavily into BDSM.
So take that for what it's worth. So I kind of get it from there. But then it's the second part of his quote, where he brings up Sarah Connor, which is his character from the Terminator the Terminator series. Wow.
There you go.
Anyways, and it was just like, you know, Sarah Connor was not a beauty icon. She was strong. She was troubled. She was a terrible mother, and she earned the respect of the audience. Okay. Why do you need to bring down Wonder Woman to like up yours? That's where I was really weirded out.
Also, like, ¿por qué no los dos? Like,
Yeah.
why can't we have two characters that we look up to, one of which is dark and moody, and one of which is an like ideal?
Yeah.
It's almost like people like Batman and Superman just the same for the same reasons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, when I see that kind of quote, it's like, it's almost like that he's just kind of like, stroking his own ego, I guess, kind of, and like putting it down. Because like, I understand that we don't want, to objectify women.
Yes.
And in the Wonder Woman's like story, she is basically like perfect in almost every single way, including like she's like gorgeous and stuff like that. Well, that's literally because she was made by the gods.
Yeah, she was made out of clay.
She's made out of clay by Zeus.
Literally chiseled to
yeah.
look a certain way.
Yeah, so like, I get it that maybe we're afraid of objectifying women, even if they are like the main character and they're like a badass, like Wonder Woman is. But in this at least this one instance, she in lore is supposed to be like that because she's a demigod. Spoiler alert, I guess.
Because you saw the movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
God,
Good. Okay. Good.
Anyway, so comparing her to Sarah Connor is apples to oranges.
Exactly.
Because Sarah Connor definitely demands my respect, but for different reasons, which Cameron did point out. Yeah, she's human, but Diana is not.
Exactly.
So we hold Diana to a different ideal. Like Wonder Woman is the warrior princess that grew up in a protected place. She never knew of war, so she's like innocent, even though she is awesome.
Yeah.
And then Sarah Connor, basically from when she's 20 to when she dies, never lives her life without fear of the apocalypse and stuff like that. So like, yeah, she's going to be dark and moody and angry all the time.
And I think another thing to also remember is like, yeah, Wonder Woman is beautiful, but she isn't defined by her beauty.
No, not at all.
She's defined by, like you said, her innocence. She's defined by her love because, again, Wonder Woman isn't like, she's not like, oh, everything needs to be beautiful. She sees everything as beautiful.
Right,
like
even for its faults.
Yeah, so there's no like, and it's not like she's trying to project people like, hey, you should look like me because I'm beautiful. It's like, no, as long as you are a good person, you're beautiful. Like, there's no like, it's not like she fat shames anyone or tell anyone they're not beautiful. It's just that's how she is, and that's just it's called because she's from Themyscira, and another word for the other name for Themyscira is Paradise Island. So it's full of all these beautiful women who aren't just beautiful; they're also freaking crazy with weapons. Like that scene when the
Nazis.
Yeah.
Well, oh no.
This
They're
is
not
World War
Nazis.
One.
This is
Yeah.
World War One, but they're Germans.
Germans. When they invade the island, they're like, oh, it's time, and they get on horseback and they wreck shop. So it's like, yeah, they're beautiful, but their beauty doesn't define them. It's their badassness that defines them.
Right.
So yeah, that's why I felt like his comments were just so weird, and it felt like he read like the very first issues of Wonder Woman and went off of that, and it was like that's what he saw. Because again, he said the movie wasn't bad. He just saw it as a step backwards, which again was not. I feel like was very misguided. His comments were more misguided than the movie.
Right, because I mean, obviously, Addison and I are male. We're not female. So
Last time I checked.
we're not girls. But like, basically every chick that I've talked to, woman that I've talked to about Wonder Woman the movie is like, oh my god, this is everything I've ever wanted in a superhero movie.
And it's still in theaters.
It's still in theaters.
Like, it just came out digitally, but it's still. I think I looked at Regal because I was looking to watch a movie. It has like still has 5 showings. Like that, people are still going to see this movie.
And like the thing about it isn't so much, especially from like the people that I've talked to, like women that I've talked to about this. Like, yes, of course, one of the big selling points is she's female. Awesome. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to see this movie. But like a lot of them like came for that and then stayed because it also was a really good movie.
Yeah, it was,
and it like portrayed the characters really well.
And it was very hopeful because I know the director Patty Jenkins kind of took from Richard Donner's Superman, like the hope that you'll believe that a man can fly, and just kind of what Superman stood for in those original movies. She kind of brought into Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman had that. So, especially since everyone complains about how DC movies are too dark, this one had that kind of light and that spark that people wanted from these movies. But so staying into this topic, Patty Jenkins, who directed Wonder Woman, responded to Cameron and was just like, it's also a long quote, but it was just like, you're not a woman. You're not a woman. You don't really get it. Like, I respect you as a filmmaker and as a person, but like, this is what people have been waiting for.
Right.
And like, one of the things she did say was, he praises my movie Monster. She did a movie a couple of years ago, Monster, that got nominated for an award, and that's kind of what got her name out there, because she hasn't directed a movie since Monster, and I think that was like 10 years ago. So
I just love a quote out of the big quote that she has here, and she says, "I believe women can and should be everything, just like male lead characters should be." So even if Wonder Woman is like somewhat objectified, ideal, and stuff like that, why can't she be, when we still have plenty of other, roles and jobs that women can do? Like, let them be objectified, but let them also play roles that are heavily not objectified.
Yeah.
All over the place. We can have a spectrum. Just men are as well.
Yeah,
like all over the place.
I mean, if you look at most comic book movies, you always see every single male superhero shirtless.
Yeah.
So technically, of course, an objectified male is drastically different from an objectified
it's still
female.
Apples to oranges.
Exactly.
Like, we're not equating one to the other. We're just saying it's definitely something that happens on both sides. But why can't, just like Patty Jenkins is saying here, why can't it be equal opportunity? Why can't we have a spectrum of jobs that women can do in acting, and a spectrum of jobs that men can do in acting? They can all fill all of them.
Yeah.
Because why not?
And right before the quote you just read, before that she also said but if women always have to be hard, tough, and troubled to be strong, then we aren't free to be multidimensional and celebrate a woman, icon woman, as everything. Like, is saying if she has to be strong, she has to be strong. You have to be troubled. You have to be this, and this. But if you're beautiful, you can't be this, or this. Because if you look at it, Wonder Woman is troubled. Like, because she has an idea of what this world is, and when that world isn't what she thinks it is.
Yeah, she has a crisis of faith.
Yeah. So, and she is exiled from home. Like, she takes a risk of like, what, the world needs us. Because, in the movie, the lore of the movie, they said, like, because of how dangerous and how angry men were, the Amazons were created to kind of calm the anger of war and whatever. So, so I don't know. I feel like his comments were just really out of the blue, and
it's like self-entitled.
Yeah.
That's really what it was. It was like self-entitled. He just like, I know film really well, so I can say whatever I want to. And it might even have been just offhand. Like, it might actually. One of the things we always have to do is take quotes with a grain of salt. Like, maybe he was just speaking offhand and didn't entirely mean that, but at the same time, he still said it and should have checked himself before he said it. Because he is essentially speaking to a world audience when he talks to an interviewer like that,
And this isn't like some director that no one's ever heard of. This is the guy who still holds two of the highest grossing movies of all time, being Avatar and Titanic. So when he says something, people listen. It's not just going to go under the rug. And I think Patty Jenkins just had, you can look at the quote, you guys yourself, because I'm reading it off of Collider.com, but she just had a very, it wasn't like, hey, screw you, you don't like my movie,
she
whatever.
Actually had a response.
Yeah, it's not like a Michael Bay response where it's just like, hey, I don't care. I got your money. I don't really care what you think of the movie. But no, she was just like, look, you're not a woman. You might not understand this because, you see yourself on the movie screen all the time, but most women don't. It's very rare. And even if they do, it might not even work out. Like Lucy was a horrible movie. And It sucks that, it was, one of the first time or one of the few times you see a female lead not relying on a man or anything like that. Like the movie was all about her, but the movie just sucked. And, I didn't see Atomic Blonde, but a lot of people say Atomic Blonde had a lot of issues. I don't know what those issues were because of course, no one wants to do spoilers. So I don't know. I'm going to have to see it at some point. But, once again, someone said like, it kind of fell through. It was really confusing.
Right.
So representation is really important. And speaking of that, we are going to move on to our next topic. So,
Skrein. Skrein,
yeah.
Hellboy reboot amid whitewashing controversy.
Yes. So Ed Skrein was going to play a character in Hellboy who is Japanese and is a Japanese American from Japanese descent. His name is Major Ben. And of course, I mean, not everyone knows all these characters. That's that's just how it is.
Right.
Actors, their agent says, "Hey, you want to do this role?" He's like, "Yes, I want a job."
Sure. Well, yeah, and the actor will take a role, sometimes not knowing what it is, just like you said, because it's a job, cool.
Yeah.
And they also trust that the director, the producer, the writers
know what they're doing,
and they're going to be filling the correct role.
Yes.
So, like Ron Perlman with the original Hellboy, like they knew what they were doing, and he was like, cool.
Yeah.
Like not only does he fit the body type role, but he also fit the voice perfectly, so perfectly that they had him do the animated Hellboys, where he wasn't even like physically acting in it, just voice acting.
I think they got everyone back for that one because I think John Hurt was also came back.
Yeah, like they did really well with the first Hellboys.
Yeah.
So the problem here was, of course, Skrein is
white,
and he's not Asian American.
Nope.
And so he didn't know this coming in, so he's not actually in the red for this at all. But there was a pretty big tumult online about this, where people were like, "You are whitewashing this, this story." Like lovers of Hellboy, because I mean that's who are gonna watch this movie are people that love Hellboy, and they've read the comics since it came out in the early 2000s, and it's an affront essentially to the people that love this stuff when they totally get a character wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure at one point, the fact that he is of Japanese descent does actually matter.
Because at the same time, there aren't a lot of Japanese characters in general. So, and that's why I kind of get irritated when people complain that why are they just casting black actors as white roles? What if we casted a white character in a black role? It's like,
you already do.
Yeah, you already do. But also think about this. The reason why they're casting more black people in white character roles is because there aren't a lot of black characters. And also you have to also think a lot of black characters were made to be black. That's just how it is.
Black Lightning, I love him, but he's totally he was part of the black empowerment era of comics.
Black Panther is from, I know there are white Africans, that's South Africa. Northern Africa is mostly black. So and he's a king of an African nation. Storm is from Cairo, so she has to be black or dark skin or something, whichever one. Luke Cage was made during the blaxploitation era.
Yeah.
So he had so if you think
at
about
first he had a huge freaking fro and the open chested yellow shirt and
and the chain belt
and the random
tiara
thing
headband
that he had. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, and also Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern, he was an activist, civil rights activist. So all these characters were made to be black.
Yeah.
At least a lot of the classic characters. More characters nowadays they're just black now. So that's why that doesn't work. But the liberty of most white characters is that they're just characters.
They're just people. Yeah.
Yeah, black characters are made to be black, as in where like Iron Man could have been anyone.
Right. Well, like one of the things that I liked about the Flash TV show is just randomly Wally West is black. It's like,
yeah, Iris is black.
Doesn't matter.
But guess what?
I'm okay with that.
There's no like, oh my god, I don't like. They haven't done it. Like, even though I have my issues with Flash, there's never been an episode where it's just like, oh man, I don't know what it's like to be in an interracial relationship. That doesn't even get brought up.
Nope.
That's just like, hey, I like you. You like me, I like you, and that's just how it. And that's just how it is. Like, because in the show, Barry is adopted by the West family.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like their skin tones don't
Never
ever
matter.
come up.
Yep.
Joe's like, Barry, you are my son, and that's just how it is. And like, think about it. Like, there are episodes where he does that, and I kind of want to cry because it's very, sad. But I will say there is one time that the skin color came up because Barry loses his memory, and he's talking to Wally, and he's just like, hey, so Wally, what are we together? He's like, oh, we're brothers. And Barry's like, oh, okay. And like looks down at his hand like, it's kind of confused because he looks at his skin tone. He's like,
Doesn't sound right.
Yeah, so that's the only time like the skin color actually comes up because that's hilarious. Because he's like,
funny, yeah.
Yeah, we're brothers. Oh. Oh, okay. But anyways, so once again, another quote that that Skrein did, but I'm not going to read it because it's just kind of the same. It's just kind of repeating himself of saying representation is important. I didn't know about the character when I first got the role because, again, some people may think like actors just, they think about it very much. Like, no, they're working. And some people because
like I said before, they trust the writers and the people that are hiring them on to have the part for them down pat.
Yeah, because I think he was in Game of Thrones. I'm not 100% sure. I think someone said that. I think I read somewhere that he was in Game of Thrones. But he did the Transporter movie that came out, which bombed. But he did get some success because he was Ajax, a.k.a. Francis, in Deadpool. Again, he didn't have to... I mean, he was a very one-dimensional villain. So
But it was still a very successful movie.
Exactly. So he has a lot of success in comic book movies. So he's just like, oh, another comic book role? I'm in. I'm going to do it.
Sure.
So the fact that he stepped out is, it's awesome. But there's also a double-edged sword because, of course, fans, came out and said, hey, you're white, the character's Japanese, this is wrong. What I don't like is fans controlling casting because because in this case, this works. But like with Ben Affleck, when he got cast as Batman, fans were just like, no, like they were, doing the whole thing. And if he would have stepped out as Batman because of the fans, I would not be okay with whoever it is. Even if they got the best Batman, I would not have been okay because we lost the opportunity to see what someone is just because a couple of fans didn't like it. So in this case, it works. But in other cases, I don't, because I think, it's from a basketball coach said that like when fans start coaching basketball, like the teams, then what's the point?
Right.
So in this case, it's good, but I don't like the idea of fans controlling. It should be the studios making the call, even though because they're just like, who cares? At least half of them is he's half American, so boom. So again. I like that fans, we, get passionate about it, but I also don't want us to dictate, who gets a role and who doesn't. So it's a double-edged sword, but in this case, it works. It's good. And I'm kind of like that he is, stepping out and saying something because...
He on his own volunteered to step out saying, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I'm not going to support this. And because of that, fans are actually, like the same fans that were saying you shouldn't be in this role are rallying behind him and being like, I'm going to support you.
Yeah, you're a good guy now.
Do. So like, I mean, it's a good and a bad thing, because we don't want people who aren't even in the business to dictate what is put into it. While at the same time, of course, there needs to be some faithfulness to, if you're making a film that is based on another
culture.
media,
Yeah.
another culture, or something like that, you've got to be sure that you are following, the source material.
Right.
And that's like one of the biggest things with fans, like saying, you're whitewashing, is because you're destroying the source material essentially. But then with like the Batman thing, that's just people being dumb.
Yeah.
And mean for no reason.
Because they're thinking, oh, well, we saw him in one comic book thing, so we don't want to do him in another. But like I said, this situation is good. That's just my fear overall, is that people are going to start taking fans' consideration into
anything,
or the fans' ideas into consideration. Because again, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I think I'm so glad that Ben Affleck stayed as Batman, because right now, from what we saw in Batman v Superman, I know it's very split, and I had some issues with it, but most of it was not him. It wasn't his performance. I like this version of Batman that he did.
Oh yeah, no, I love this version of Batman.
Yeah, so I don't know what we could have gotten if he would have dropped out. We would have gotten I don't know. Like I don't even know what a safe safe Batman would have been.
Well, like the problem with the cinematic Batman is that, except for maybe the Michael Keaton one, none of them have really acted like Batman.
Yeah.
Like the Ben Affleck one is the closest to Batman I've seen in a cinematic aspect in ages. And I really enjoy it. It might not be like spot on. It might not be perfect. His morals are definitely degraded compared to like a true Batman,
which I actually.
But
really
I'm actually
enjoy.
okay with that. Like it's a twist on the character, and while there is a bunch of source material that they're using, they're not tearing it apart for this Batman. I feel like this is actually something like in the darkest universe kind of thing. This is something Batman could become. He's already a man who was on the edge of psychosis and going insane. And this Batman might literally be like teetering on the edge, and that's why his morals are so like out the window.
And he's working backwards, as in where you see a character who starts out good and kind of works his way to being, more brutal. You see he starts out as brutal and is kind of working his way back to not being so brutal and kind of going back to where he was in the beginning. Like that's what you see, and I like that idea.
Yeah, because this is a Batman. Like one of my favorite aspects of this, and why I actually really like the Affleck Batman, is that we don't get some stupid origin story all over again.
Yeah,
this is Batman like 15
years, 20
years into being Batman. This is my favorite Batman.
And
I love.
And he's at his limit
when he's like at 45 years old or something like that, because we don't need to go to introduce new characters all the frickin' time or have some new plot or romance or something like that. It's literally just...
We don't need to see how Riddler became Riddler. We don't need to see how any of these characters get to where they are. It's just like... Because in the Justice League trailer, they say, like, remember back in the day when all we had to worry about was robotic wind-up penguins? It's like, oh, so there was, like, a lighter moment. But then...
But it's gotten...
Yeah, because when you think about Gotham, it's just like, I have traffickers in my city. Look, I can put you guys in Arkham, I can put you in jail, but somehow you're gonna get out. Guess what? I'm putting you down, and you're not gonna die, but you're gonna go down hard.
Yeah.
So that's what I like. But before we get too off topic, again to Ed Skrein, thank you for being culturally sensitive,
being the bigger man.
Exactly. And stepping out from a role that who knows. I mean, I don't even know how big this role is. I'm not even familiar with the character.
He's just part of quick synopsis. He's part of the BPRD, which is the agency that Hellboy is a part of, that sends them out on missions and stuff like that. He probably would have been a supplemental character, but he would show up a decent amount, like as a support role and stuff like that. So he actually would have a minor role, but a role that would keep reoccurring throughout the movie.
And he's also, dude, man's ugly. Like he has half of his face is either like scarred or burned or whatever. And Ed Skrein too pretty for that. Let's be honest, he's too pretty. But we're gonna go on to our next topic, and we were talking about DC. Warner Brothers wants to do a standalone Joker movie do his origin.
Oh, man.
And, usually when you hear something like that, you're just like, no, it's not going to go anywhere. And they're like, oh, but guess who's producing? Like, oh, who? Martin Scorsese. Oh, no. Now it has a possibility of being made. And like, but no. You know what? No, it's not going to work. Who are they going to even to act? Are they going to get Jared Leto? Oh no, this is outside the universe or the DCEU. Why? I don't know.
Why not?
But it's like, okay, then who's going to play the Joker? Someone that's not going to be good and, it's not going to be made. They want Leonardo DiCaprio.
God.
And you're like, oh, no. It could actually get made. I don't... Okay, so this is what is I'm at my limit with DC right now. Because I know DC wants to be different from Marvel. As they should. But they need to get their core characters out before they're doing all of these standalones or spin-offs or whatever. Because I usually, whenever I talk about DC, I try not to talk about Marvel. But this is where Marvel got it right. They got their Avengers, and their Avengers was Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, all those guys. Those were the first Avengers. Even though you didn't see a lot of Hawkeye, he was in Thor. But you had a Captain America movie, an Iron Man movie, Hulk movie, Thor movie. Then they got the Avengers. Mm-hmm. Now, I know DC originally was going to do it backwards back in 2006 when George Miller was doing Justice League Mortals, I think. They were going to do the Justice League, and then they're going to do their spin-offs afterwards. I thought that was going to be a good idea. And that's kind of what they're doing now. They got their Trinity out first in Suicide Squad for whatever reason. So they got their Trinity out, which I think that's how you start a Justice League. That should have been the prequel to the Justice League, was the Trinity, which it kind of was. So the next obvious movie is going to be, the next movie is Aquaman, and I think Flash is supposed to be next, which I guess they're getting their core characters out. But then we're getting all these other weird, they want to do a Batgirl movie, which I think I've told you this before, but I think they need to do Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. Instead of it, keep her as Batgirl instead of Oracle, and then bring in Black Canary and Huntress. That's what I think they should do. And then they want to do a Nightwing movie. I think it should be Nightwing and the Outsiders. I feel like instead of trying to do all these standalone Batman characters, they need to do teams. Have Batgirl lead the Birds of Prey, and have Nightwing lead the Outsiders. Because let's be honest, we're never going to see a Metamorpho movie. We already seen Katana. They need to kind of not reboot, but reintroduce Katana in a better way, and also have Black Lightning. Now I don't know if they're going to do Black Lightning because they're doing a TV show on CW. Right. Then they want to do, now this Joker movie is outside of the DCEU. I mean,
I mean, it's not affecting the main EU, but at the same time, it's also why would you make it then?
Yeah, because the Joker is, I don't know. We got the origin from the Killing Joke. That's because, what's his name? Alan Moore does Alan Moore. Alan Moore, in my mind, is almost outside of the DC. He's just I have a DC story. Okay, is it connected to anything? No.
Yeah, and they just do it.
Okay, we'll sit. Have a nice day, Alan. And just get him out of here. Yeah. And they're just okay, this is a Elseworld story. Oh, it's not connected to the universe? No. Well, we might keep that Batgirl's paralyzed, but everything else in this story, no. And just
well, that's one of the things about the Killing Joke. Originally, and I can't remember if he says it in the movie adaptation they did recently, but he mentions that he can't remember if that's actually how it happened or not. Yeah. He says every single time he recollects how he became the Joker, it's different. And that's what I love about it, because it actually...
He's crazy.
The Killing Joke, in my mind, is actually not just in Elseworlds, but it is every single universe. Mm-hmm. It is the Joker remembering every other universe's origin of the Joker. And so it fits for any universe. Yeah. And that's why we can have universes where Barbara Gordon gets shot and becomes the Oracle, and the Joker was made by being the Red Hood, whereas there are some where he's not, and stuff like that, because they're all just small, different, tiny iterations to tiny differences between the exact same origin. And
because Batman doesn't even remember the Red Hood, and
in some of them he doesn't.
Yeah, because I think even in Killing Joke, I don't think the Red Hood is even brought up by him or even in his like mind, because because I like just going off from what you said, it would make sense that why Joker would have such a kind of either a hatred or a hard on for Batman is because Batman kind of created him in a way. So I kind of like that aspect, because I don't like the Joker having an origin, because I know everyone holds 89's Batman to like the highest standard of what a Batman movie should be. But for me, I hated the idea that he was the one that killed the Waynes.
Yeah.
Even though I know some people say like, no, in Batman's psyche, he creates every villain that he takes is the one, every villain he goes against is the one that killed his parents. I guess you can look at it, at that way, but I'm looking at it from what the movie is presenting, and it's presenting that he was the one that killed the Waynes, and I don't like that, because I like the idea that Batman was created by a random act of violence. Not because someone sent someone to kill the Waynes, or it was all planned.
Yeah, nothing like planned especially.
It was just random.
It can be Joe Chill, or it can be be Joe Chill. It's just a dude.
I mean, I would prefer it to be Joe Chill.
I prefer it to be Joe Chill. It's just a dude who saw a rich couple enter an alley, tried to steal from them, got antsy, and shot. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And with the with this, the whole thing, like, I wouldn't mind a Joker story, and I say that like I actually would kind of mind. I don't really want to see it, but I'd probably still go to the film and watch it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see another Joker origin story.
I don't want to see another Joker story, period.
Like, I'm just kind of worn out on it, and I feel like, dude, if they wanted to make Leo a villain in the DCEU, make him like Vandal Savage or something like that. Like,
now that's a good idea. I actually would be okay with him being Vandal Savage.
Make him like the immortal frickin' mafia boss.
Yeah.
Make him something. Don't make him the Joker. The Joker is...
I don't think he's going to take it. I know he has utter respect for Martin Scorsese, but I don't think...
Yeah.
I think even he knows that this isn't the role for him.
Yeah, I just think that, like, I would love to see DiCaprio as, like, throw his talent into something that's not just, I'm a goofy trickster who probably is really dark and evil. Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
I want him to be, like... Because actually, like, while we're talking about this, we're looking at... an image of him as the main villain from Django Unchained.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's the kind of Leo villain I like, is someone that's, like, maybe he could be a smooth talker, he could not be a smooth talker, but just, like, imperious, just, like, the way that he, like, holds himself and stuff like that, I would love to see.
And I think my big issue, honestly, is that Leo can disappear in roles. Like, but I feel like in a comic book movie, he would stand out too much.
Sure.
I think I'm not saying no one's big enough or small enough for a superhero role, but I feel like when Leonardo DiCaprio, when you watch him in Django Unchained or The Revenant or Great Gatsby or whatever, I feel like he blends in. He's able to blend into a movie, but I think with a comic book movie, he would just stand out too much. Unfortunately. Not saying he's too famous or he's too this or that. I don't know. When I think of him in a comic book movie, I think of him just as Leonardo DiCaprio playing a character. Now, if he played Vandal Savage, like if he got his Revenant look, like the beard,
like the
kind of scruffy looking,
hair.
Give him some scars, then I think I would be more okay with that, instead of him being like, I'm in the fight, I'm actually just kind of behind the scenes leading all these characters together. Or even, actually, you know what? I think he'd be better as who is like the main villain of Tower of Babel?
I mean, Ra's al Ghul.
Or not Ra's al Ghul. No, it's not Ra's al Ghul. It's Wonder Woman breaks his neck.
Oh, in the comic?
Yeah.
Oh god, it's so long since I read Tower of Babel.
But he was the one who kind of, because okay, in the story of Tower of Babel, Batman has contingency plans for beating all the Justice League.
Yeah.
And this kid, oh my god, it's driving me.
Talia is the one that broke into Talia al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul's daughter, is the one that breaks into the Batman's Batcave, steals all the contingency plans, and I think I know what's going on. In the movie that they made for the Tower of Babel, they changed the villain.
Yeah, it was Vandal Savage in that.
Yeah, they changed the villain in the adaptation to film because in the comic,
Maxwell Lord. That's who I'm thinking of. I think he'd be a good Maxwell Lord.
yeah, because Maxwell Lord was also the one behind OMAC.
Yeah.
And he wasn't the one behind the original Tower of Babel.
Okay.
That was Ra's al Ghul.
No, you're right. It was because Maxwell Lord was... Because when they did Justice League Mortal, which was a kind of an adaptation of Tower of Babel, Maxwell Lord is the one behind all of it.
Right.
So that's where I think instead of playing a villain with powers, I think he would be well off as a mastermind.
Right. Yeah.
So
Maxwell, that'd be really great because, man, I wish that they would actually I think after Justice League,
mm-hmm.
if they did another Justice League, OMAC and Brother Eye would be a really cool
think
villain
so, too.
storyline, and having like Maxwell Lord with like Leo as Maxwell Lord.
Yeah.
Because like it could even still open up with him killing Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Like, because given enough time, maybe 5 to 10 years, they could introduce Blue Beetle as like a side character. They could even have. They love these spin-off movies. Why not do Booster Gold and Blue Beetle?
They're talking about doing that.
Come on.
They're talking about doing
and then
Booster Gold. The Zach Stantz, I think his name is. He wrote Thor. He was one of the writers on Thor.
Mm-hmm.
He got announced to do Booster Gold. When is it going to be? I don't know. Is it even in the universe? I don't know. But, I mean, I know they were trying to do, like, a mixture, a split between Warner Brothers and New Line, because New Line is a sub-company of Warner Brothers.
Right.
But I know they're trying to put some movies there. Like, I think Shazam was supposed to come out from New Line.
Mm-hmm.
When's that coming out?
Who
I don't know.
knows?
But, so, yeah, I think Leonardo would be better as Maxwell Lord, not covering up in makeup and making him psychotic. I mean, I know that'd be...
Like, here's the thing. He could do it. I don't know if I would watch that, though.
I wouldn't. Because, look, and then I have the same idea this is my same point for why I don't want to see Gotham City Sirens. One, I don't like my villains being... I mean, I like them. I like my villains being more sympathetic, but I don't want them to be the protagonist. Not the hero, the protagonist. Like,
sure.
My issue with Suicide Squad is that you kind of eliminated a lot of Batman villains.
Yeah,
like,
by making them nicer or good.
Like Killer Croc. Like, I don't know if you ever played Arkham City. It's either City or Asylum, but there's a level where you have to fight Killer Croc, and it's you sneaking around the sewers before he like jumps up and like takes you. One, it's terrifying. It's actually a really like suspenseful like level, but you know, I would kind of want to see that in a movie because that's cool.
Sure.
And you know, of course, everyone complained like, "Oh, we don't want CGI. We want we want it real." They did. You know, they covered him in makeup. Well, you know, you look better at CGI. It's like, you know what? Whatever. So they took out that. And one of my ideas for the standalone Batman movie, because I know they want to do a noir film, is instead of just doing, you can mix it with noir, because after that scene in Batman v Superman, you can't have like a good action scene, because with him in the warehouse in Batman v Superman, we see what Batman can do, and we want to keep seeing that. So you can have a mixture of an action movie and a noir film. But what I wanted was, because originally they were going to have Deathstroke was going to be like kind of one of the villains. I wanted to see what they did in Arkham Origins, where it was just like Black Mask put a hit on Batman, and a lot of the assassins came after him.
Sure.
So that's where you could bring in Deadshot. And I think having a movie with Deadshot and Deathstroke, and maybe what's another good like assassin, like Firefly or something or whatever. So you could have all these villains, and then you could have like a awesome one-on-one fight between two people who one day might be better than the other. Like maybe if Batman was recovering from a cold, Deathstroke would win, or if, whatever. You know, that's what I want to see, and I'm hoping that Deathstroke, because it was in Ben Affleck's original script that Deathstroke was going to be the villain. Now that George Reeves George Reeves, now that he's stepping in, we don't know if Deathstroke's going to be in it. I hope so, because Deathstroke is an awesome character, and I kind of want to see the Hitman, the Terminator, Deathstroke instead of the lovesick puppy that we got in Arrow.
Right.
So that's what I want to see. But with Suicide Squad, I would feel bad if I saw Batman just hold Deadshot
Deadshot
and just beat the crap out of him, because I'm like,
he's
oh,
got a daughter.
yeah.
Like,
Even though I want to feel that in the movie, but it's like, oh, we watched a whole movie with just him. Now I feel bad seeing Batman punch him in the mouth.
right.
And then okay, back to what I was originally saying. There's been so many Joker stories. If you watch all the Arkham games, they're all Joker. Even Arkham Origins, where it was sold to you as, hey, this is a story about Black Mask. Spoiler alert. Black Mask actually is the Joker, because he knocked out Black Mask and has been wearing the Black Mask the entire time.
Oh man.
Why? I don't know. It's stupid. And of course, just so the Joker was the villain and all that. If you look at Under the Red Hood, which is one of my favorite Batman stories, it all comes back to the Joker. And one of my favorite Batman movies in general, the Mask of the Phantasm.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Even though the Phantasm is the villain, antagonist, whatever you want to call him, guess who it all comes back to?
Joker.
The Joker. So it's like, you know what? I'm kind of tired of the Joker. And of course, Suicide Squad had some weird subplot with the Joker. So I'm ready to.
There are better Batman villains.
Yeah, there are so many. Like, yes, Joker is the Green Goblin to his Spider-Man. Like,
yeah.
He's, I don't know. I'm bored. And Dark Knight yes, it was good.
Dark Knight was really good.
Yeah,
but
so and it has nothing to do with Jared Leto. I think he wasn't the Joker I wanted to see, but I wasn't like,
yeah, I wasn't like, that's not the Joker.
Yeah.
Like it was still very much a Joker character, but it's just like, it's overused.
Yeah.
I wish they wouldn't be afraid to use is freaking Ra's al Ghul.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and actually get someone who's Middle Eastern to do it.
Yeah. Because in Batman Begins, I was so hyped because Ra's al Ghul was there. I was like, oh my god, sweet, this is gonna be great. And then
he gets crushed by a beam.
He gets taken out by a frickin' train, and I'm like,
well, no. At first, he gets taken out by a beam and burned to death. You're like, oh, Ra's al Ghul is dead, and then it's like, oh, it's actually this other guy.
It's actually Liam Neeson.
But I actually thought of in that universe, since it's all real and there's no Lazarus pit, I imagine that Ra's al Ghul was a title, and that's how.
Yeah.
See, I actually really like that idea, and that's how Ra's al Ghul survived for 300 years. Was that it wasn't a person, it was a name, it was a title, and when that guy died, what was his name? John something. I mean, it was a very fake, like, obvious. It was one of those names that you knew was like it was a very obvious pseudonym. So it's just like, but now that this universe, you can do whatever. I want the actual Ra's al Ghul, and I want Lazarus Pit, all of that.
Man, I want to even, since we like have an established universe, I want Ra's al Ghul to already have like tussled with Batman multiple times, and I want like Talia to already be like, you're my ex-lover to like Batman and stuff like that. I don't care if Damian Wayne is there or not. But like,
no Damian. He's one of the worst characters.
Yeah, he did end up being bad.
He's so one-dimensional. I want the last Robin to be Tim. Even if they want to bring in who's the girl from
Dark Knight Returns. I can't remember.
Carrie Kelly?
Yeah.
Kelly Carey? I don't know. One of the two.
Yeah. She was great.
I wouldn't mind if they try to introduce her, or even they just went like, hey, Stephanie Brown. She'll become spoiler at some point, but right now she's Robin. Mm-hmm. I'm down with that. But no Damian. But I would like to see a good Ra's al Ghul movie where you see him kind of like why Ra's al Ghul wants this guy to be, or why Ra's al Ghul wants Batman to be the next Ra's al Ghul, and it'd be actually more interesting. It's like, hey, we see how you're taking out people. That's why we want you to be the head of the League of Assassins. He's like, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm trying to be better.
I'm trying not to kill people with my car. But so no, there's a lot of roles for Leonardo DiCaprio to do, but Joker is just not it. And same thing. I keep trying to get back to this topic. It's the same thing with the Gotham City Sirens. Is like, Harley Quinn's just not that interesting without Batman, or Harley Quinn's not interesting without the Joker, and the Joker is not interesting without Batman. And if that's the case, just make a Batman movie.
Right.
But at the same time, don't do another Joker movie. So Because yeah, I want a good Mr. Freeze movie.
Yeah.
I want a good Mr. Freeze movie.
God, like Mr. Freeze hasn't been done accurately or well since I think
Animated series.
Sub-Zero was the last, because it was Heart of Ice,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second one, I can't remember the second one, the name for the second episode, but that was the one where he gets trapped in the iceberg that takes him to where Sub-Zero starts. And those three are all I accept as canon in the animated series for Mr. Freeze. Except, I do accept that at some point he gets his head frozen. And, And then in Batman Beyond, he comes back because he's still not a... Because, like, the Adventures of Batman and Robin just really simplified a lot of the villains and made them just villains to be villains again.
That's where Tim Drake comes in, right?
Yeah. And it sucks.
I don't like how they did Scarecrow. Scarecrow was terrifying.
Yeah, and it sucks because there were some good stories in there, but not a lot of like really good stories like in Batman the Animated Series seasons 1 through 3. And of course, I'm going to be talking about Batman the Animated Series. I don't think there's an episode where you haven't.
No.
But it's just, that's the kind of Mr. Freeze that I think exemplifies why Batman stories are my favorite stories in like any comic book, series, is because the people he fights are human.
Yeah.
And even if they are bad people sometimes or misguided, like, they're still human.
Outside of the Joker, you see, like, especially in the animated series, when he talks to Freeze, he talks to him as Victor. He's like, Victor, don't do this. Or if he talks to Joker or Scarecrow, he talks to him as Crane. If he talks to Two-Face, it's Harvey. Don't do this. Only the Joker, because again, no one knows who the Joker actually is. He's the only one that's just like, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Everyone else is like, I'm trying to help you. So that's where, especially when it comes to Batman villains, I would kind of hope they would go that route instead of just kind of doing the safe route and do Joker.
Right.
But I do want to move on to our next topic because we got off on a Batman tangent again. So Leonardo, if you are listening, do not do Joker. I know Martin Scorsese is your boy, but it's not a good idea.
It's not a good look.
Not a good look. Trust me.
You're worth so much more.
I'm not. Look, the Joker's a great character, but I will say Leonardo DiCaprio is too good of an actor to just cover him up in makeup and make him psychotic. I'm sorry. He's just too. Leonardo's not too good for comic book movies because again, I think he would be really cool as Maxwell Lord and making that character a lot more intimidating. But just as Joker, no. I'm sorry. No, don't. I just no. So that's what we're gonna.
Final topic of the day.
Final topic. Zeb and I, we grew up on Disney films. We were both born in '93, so obviously, and if you were born in the '90s, you watched Disney. If you didn't watch Disney, then you're kind of a sad.
If you didn't watch Disney or you didn't have a friend that watched it, so you watched it with them, you were deprived as a child. I'm pretty sure that's child endangerment. CPS should have taken you from your parents.
and because of that, of course, there's a trend of seeing all these live action Disney movies. We were getting Lion King. We had Jungle Book, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, so on and so forth. Maleficent. Anyways, so I talked to Zeb off camera, off mic, whatever, and we're coming up with a list of Disney movies we would like to see come to life, live action, or even remade.
Sure.
And I'm gonna start us off, and I would like to see Song of the South. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Now, if you guys don't know what Song of the South is, it is.
Is it the one with the racist crows?
No, that's Dumbo.
Oh, okay.
We're getting Dumbo. We're getting Tim Burton. We're getting a Tim Burton Dumbo. So
okay.
Yes, and in Dumbo there are these 5 crows, and they are the most stereotypical black. They're stereotypical black people. The way they talk, the way they're supposed to be dressed, whatever. They're meant to be black people. I don't know if I would be okay if they weren't in the movie, because it's like they're almost trying to hide it. It's like, no, if you're gonna do it, you better have like Cat Williams like voice one of them or something.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? Hold on one second, because I actually had a list of actors I would want to see play the Black Crow. So hold on one second. Yeah, you know what, Zeb? Give me your choice.
Okay, so the first of my choices, I had like 2 or 3. I don't know if I'll say the third one, but the first one is I'd like to see Treasure Planet done live action, because you know
That's
what?
a good one.
Disney is doing great with its with its Marvel branch, and Marvel's been doing some really good space adventure films, especially with like Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor. I would like to see them go back to Treasure Planet and make that live action, and I think it would be fantastic if they did.
Treasure Planet's a very underrated movie, and
It's
it's very
so
underrated. It's very under talked about too. Under talked about.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, what's not to love about it? You've got space space pirates, a planet made of treasure. Come on, and it's just an adaptation of Treasure Island, the Long John Silver story and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's one of my favorites when I grew up. Like I just love space, and I just want to see that done over again. And while Addison's still looking, I'll just go over my second one as well. I would love to see Atlantis
That's a
done
good
in
one.
live action.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Because that one was already relying at the time on a good deal of CG. I think that if they made it live action and focused on the CG a decent amount, like this is actually a film I would love to see CG'd out. Like just throw CG everywhere, just blatantly, just like George Lucas that thing. And I'd be okay with it.
I'd be okay with that one too. Like those 2 movies are really like, and they're good adventure movies.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we don't get those. I know a lot of action movies get thrown in the category of action adventure, but we don't really get that Indiana Jones like
that's
adventure.
exactly what I was thinking. It's like it's Indiana Jones adventure action. Like we don't get that anymore. Like that's what I'm hoping like Thor Ragnarok might be, but not really a whole lot.
No, they say it's a space buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how that was gonna work out, but I couldn't find my cast. But I know it was a lot of very like stereotypical. I think Tracy Morgan, Cat Williams, just a lot of like stereotypical black actors to play the stereotypical black crows. But I think one of the choice I had, and I know actually when I wrote for the Dynamic Buzz a few years ago, they actually they said this one was in development, but I haven't heard. I love The Sword and the Stone.
Oh yeah.
The Sword and the Stone is one of my favorite Disney movies. I rewatched it again because I watched that King Arthur Legend of the Sword movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Okay.
know. Look, I like anime. I like the animes with crazy sword fights, whatever.
Sure.
I like He-Man. I like video games. God of War. That was like, I feel like everyone got that idea and threw it in
Dumped it all in a bucket.
and just like and not gently stir it. They just shook it up like a martini, just like.
Something will come out of this.
And then they just threw it. They just threw the ball. It was still in the cup, and they just threw it against the wall, and they watched whatever falls off. Because it was nuts. I am telling you, like here's the thing. The last King Arthur movie came out. It was in the early 2000s. It was by Antoine Fuqua, who did Training Day and movies like that. He's a really good filmmaker. But that one was more based off of what King Arthur actually was. So they kind of retconned all the magic. This one was just like, well, that had no magic. This one's all magic.
Everything is magic.
Like, literally. Honestly, if they would have changed this movie to He-Man, like they said, this isn't King Arthur, this is He-Man, I think it'd be more passable.
Wow.
Because I'm telling you, like, Excalibur literally does everything. Like there's a moment where he like swings it against the ground and it blows up a courtyard.
Well, why would he even fight people then if he could just blow everything up?
I don't know. It was done by Guy Ritchie, so it had like Guy Ritchie-isms in it, so it's
Okay.
like telling a story with flashbacks, and it's very like quick cuts. Because he did what's it called, the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, which are good. The quirkiness of originally.
Well, that like fit perfectly.
King Arthur,
in a Sherlock Holmes movie.
Not really, because it like Zeb, I am telling you. You know what we need? I really do want to start like commentary episodes. We're gonna do a commentary for King Arthur.
Oh Lord!
Because I'm telling you, it's bonkers. Especially the last scene. You really think you're watching something from God of War, and not in like the good way. I meant like you're like, I think I'm watching a video game right now. But anyways, so I want to see Sword in the Stone because when you think about it, it's not a big like action movie. Not at all, but you do see a lot of, it's a lot of fun. You see a lot of like fun magic tricks, stuff like that, because you have the Merlin character, and then I can't remember what the witch's name, but you get to see a duel between.
Morrigan?
No, they weren't going that deep with names. It was like some stereotypical like frumpy woman's name, whatever they were. Literally, it was like oof or something. I don't know.
Fair enough.
But I think that would be a lot of fun. And another one I really want to see, and I'm drawing a blank. Wow. Oh, Black Cauldron.
Right.
Now, that's another one that like it was kind of like a weird knockoff of Lord of the Rings in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Boy travels around with a creepy little creature thing trying to find a MacGuffin to do something, and there's a sword, there's an elf, I think. It's one of those. But the reason why I want to see the Black Cauldron is because the Horned King scared the crap out of me. Like there are some scenes I have a compilation on YouTube. When I watch them, I get goosebumps because I remember back to when I was a kid seeing those scenes and how scared I was.
Right.
Like I remember because in my old house, we lived behind on the other side of the street where my grandma lived, and we would cross the yards. I couldn't go there. I couldn't go across the yard at night because the Horned King, the image of him, popped up everywhere in my mind. So I did not like going anywhere at night because I saw him.
Right.
Like even though like in the movie they raised the dead, like they raised the ghosts, like ghosts of warriors. That was nothing compared to the Horned King in my mind. Because there's a scene where he lunges at a kid and he's like glowing red eyes. His skin's all like brown, and it's not
like rotting away.
Yeah, rotting, like a rotting brown. It's just like it's terrifying. Like it, yeah. So I kind of want to see that brought to life, and I think that they didn't do much with the book. Like I don't think the movie followed much of the source material, because I think it's a series. I think there's it might be a 5-book series. So I don't know if they would do that with Disney, but I would like to see that brought to life, and I think that'd be actually really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have another one?
I have one more, and I don't even know if I'd actually want to see it done live action, but Lilo and Stitch.
That would be a good one.
And I say I don't really know if I want it done live action because I feel like I don't want to see the humans in live action. I almost would just rather they did an almost entirely CG, just space adventure in that setting where there's, a galactic council and there's a whole bunch of other races out there, and it's literally just things that are happening out there. Yeah. Like, I guess it would be I would rather a spin-off than an actual Lilo and Stitch revision, because I know there's also like the series that came after the TV series. But like, I would totally just prefer they just did stuff out in space.
Yeah. I actually think Lilo and Stitch would be a really good one, especially even in live action, because especially with the success of Moana. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, like you're right, they could do just CG. They could redo it, but keep it kind of that Disney animation, Pixar-ish kind of 3D or 3D animation. But I would actually kind of like to see a live action. Give a lot more Hawaiian representation out there. Because now that they know that there are people of Polynesian descent that can act, it's like just do a whole movie down there. I think that'd be actually really cool. Because Lilo and Stitch was because that came out. I think we were still in elementary school because I remember the series came out when we were in the 6th grade.
It was like 2002.
Yeah.
Or 3.
So, because I strictly remember watching that when I was in the 6th grade. So I think Lilo and Stitch came out 2 years before that. So I think that's a really good idea. But yeah, I want to keep talking about Atlantis and Treasure Island because those are really good choices because I feel like those are the ones that kind of get tucked away.
It was towards
Disney.
the end of Disney's
reign of like
like the 2D animation reign, like
because after the 90s, that's where after Hercules was the Hercules, Little Mermaid, even though I know Little Mermaid was 80s, but like Hercules, Lion King, stuff like that. That's where I think they fell into a crap.
Well, the early 90s was the big boom.
Yeah.
There because of Lion King, Disney animation was big.
Yeah.
And then mid to late 90s, it started to fall off again, and they tried to do stuff like Treasure Planet, Atlantis, and then finally after because they didn't work out very well, Princess and the Frog did okay, but not anywhere near as good as they wanted it to.
Actually,
and so they were just like.
Actually, I think it was after Treasure Planet and Atlantis, they tried to be like, okay, you know what? They don't want anything new. Let's go back to our old stuff, and that's where they try to do the sequels,
right?
Which bombed.
Yeah, all of the sequels were horrible.
I think there are 2. Simba's Pride was okay, but still not even close to the original. And then there was the Return of Jafar was not good. But I think Aladdin, Prince of Thieves.
Prince of Thieves, that was good.
I like that.
I like that one a lot.
I do want to revisit again. I'm sure it's not as. Of course, nothing's gonna be as good as the original Aladdin, but I think it kind of pushed the mythos. I think it was a good end to the Aladdin trilogy, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cinderella 2 was bad. Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 was bad. Mulan 2 somehow unraveled everything they did in the original. Everything. It makes me want to pull my hair out thinking about it.
Hilarious.
What else was there?
Tarzan 2 is notoriously bad.
Because it was a prequel. No, not a prequel, but it was stories about when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
why do we need this?
Exactly. That was bad. Just a lot of those movies were just so freaking bad, and then that's when we got trying to do because Disney animation was going down, Pixar was up, so it was it was that kind of switch of power of 2D was going down, 3D animation was going up, and then like you said, Princess and the Frog, which I like Princess and the Frog.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a bring back to form just yet. But it was still a really good movie because again, most of the movie they were frogs.
Yeah.
So, but I think a good coming back to form everyone has their issues, but I think it's Frozen and Moana. I think that was a good comeback of form for Disney animation, even though it's not 2D, but still in that world because the people who did Moana did Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
As far as it was Aladdin and something else. Oh, it was Aladdin and Princess and the Frog.
Right.
So, I hope they, again, I really hope they do Treasure Planet and Atlantis, because I think the coolest scene is seeing the Leviathan in
Atlantis.
That was the coolest scene.
I would like them to revisit that and do more with it because that's the only time you see the Leviathan is for the first is that 5-minute segment where it chases them and it never pops up again for the rest of the movie. And I just really would love to have seen more of that thing.
I hope so too. But unfortunately, I think a lot of criticism those movies are going to get is that there's a giant portal in the sky in both of them. Kind of.
I mean, kinda, yeah.
Well, in Treasure Planet, it's a black hole, but
right.
That's technically a giant hole in the sky. So,
well, I mean, in Atlantis, it's not a hole in the sky. It's the they're on a volcano, and the hole in the sky is the opening at the top of the volcano is how they escape in the end, using a dirigible. But there's no portal or anything like that. They have a big force field that goes up and stops the volcano from killing them all, but that's about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I really hope they do that because that was, like I said, just a fun adventure movie, and some of the twists in it you don't see coming.
Right.
But because I won't spoil it for him, because I think Atlantis is still on Netflix, so if you have a chance, go check that out. Treasure Planet, I want to say it might be on Netflix, but I highly doubt it.
I don't think it is. But also, Treasure Planet is based on Treasure
Island.
Island.
Yeah,
you know?
so if you don't know what happens in Treasure Island,
it's like one of the most famous pirate stories.
yeah, like it's
the
pirate story. Yeah.
About a kid who becomes a cabin boy for a pirate ship that's going to...
No, it wasn't a pirate ship. It was
was it a merchant ship? And
yeah.
And
then pirates took over.
The pirates took over, yeah. And they're going to find this island that is just has a pirate's trove of treasure.
Yeah, it's kind of where like it was the kind of beginning of the X marks the spot, because it was literally the dotted lines leading to the X, and it's like, how are you supposed to navigate that? Because here's the funny thing: when you look at the map, it goes in loops, and it's just like, why can't I just go straight? But so I hope all these movies get made. I'm drastically nervous. In Pocahontas. I think Pocahontas, but at the same time,
I don't really know if I want a Pocahontas,
because it's also it's very much reminding people like, this is how our country was founded.
Well, the main reason I don't want a Pocahontas is because, like, if they redid it, unless it was entirely historically accurate, I wouldn't really want to watch it.
Yeah.
And if they made it entirely historically accurate, it would not be a Disney movie.
No. So maybe not that one, but I would like to see. I know they're talking about doing Mulan.
Mulan could be interesting, but
they did say, like, there was a whole controversy with the Mulan movie because Disney bought a spec script. Now, for people who don't know what that is, I could write some basic story about Batman, whatever. Warner Brothers will buy it, or whatever, and then because it's a spec script, they can change whatever they want in it.
Right.
As long as they keep the names, and that's what they did. And someone, I don't know who it was, but they bought a spec script of Mulan where Mulan meets this European man who falls in love with her and kind of helps her do what she does with the fighting the Huns and whatever. Right. And that was like, how could Disney do that? They have they
just bought it so that no one else can use it.
Yeah, it was they bought the spec script, so it's like, calm down. They didn't buy a script. It's pretty much a concept. You're pretty much selling a concept. So because again, Mulan isn't a Disney character; she's a folklore character. So she's free. It's a domain character. So anyone can make a Mulan movie, but they can't use like Mushu and everything they got from the Disney movie. So they just bought it. And I remember what they said was they wanted an all Chinese cast. Good, because they're only Chinese people in the movie.
It should only be Chinese people. I mean, except for the Huns. But granted, it was kind of hilarious when the Huns finally do actually invade successfully and take over China. They just get integrated into China, and then China's just China again.
Yeah, so it's just like
generations.
They're not Huns.
They just stop being Huns after a while.
Because they're people. Mongolians, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, they're actually it's not the Huns. It's the it's the Huns.
They're the Huns in the movie.
They're not Mongolians. Those are the Mongols.
Yeah.
The Huns,
but it wasn't. Oh, it wasn't until the Hun. It was Shin or Shun or whatever. Yeah, well,
they call them some but it's the freaking the Huns that are trying to get across.
God, I'm sorry. I just looked up Mulan, and that's an awesome poster.
Right.
Like the poster with her and her horse, and it's all black and red. Ah, that's so cool. Anyway, so.
Shan Yu.
Shan Yu, I think that was?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shan Yu was the villain.
Yeah, so the Huns were the ones that are trying to invade.
He just died recently.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, he died of cancer just earlier this year. That's sad.
Wow.
Throat cancer.
More people dying, and we didn't even know at that time.
Yeah. But yeah, so if they want to be very culturally accurate with the movie, but again, it's an American movie, so I don't know if they're going to try to get Chinese people who can speak English, or if they're just going to be like, hey, you know what?
I would really appreciate it if they did.
Yeah.
They were just like, yeah, we were an American, production house, but we're going to have this be set in China. Everyone's going to speak Chinese. We're just going to have subtitles.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know some people don't like that.
Some people are gonna
but
really
man,
hate that.
I really would like that.
I would appreciate it, especially if it wasn't like if it was like a Disney production. So it wasn't like, you know, because I'm not saying Chinese productions don't have they don't have the same budget as like a Disney, but if Disney was like, hey, you know what, we are going to be very accurate with this, and if they did, props to them. I don't know how well it would do. I would hope it would do well, but some people just don't like to read, which is kind of sad. But
yeah, it's almost like with like this is going on a little bit of a tangent, but like the Full Metal Alchemist movie.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that they had just gotten a bunch of European actors for it.
Yeah.
Because and yes, of course, it's a Japanese owned series. They can do whatever they want with it when they make that film, but it's set in an
Aryan country.
Yeah. And so it would have been so cool if they'd just been reached out and just been gotten some European actors and just made them those people. And of course, there's still like an Asian country in
Xing.
Yeah, Xing.
And then the Middle Eastern country of Istanbul. No,
Ishval.
Sorry,
Istanbul.
I kind of mixed them.
Constantinople. Okay, so
I'm just putting all the countries together.
Anyway,
Istanbul, Gan, Israel. Istanbul.
Okay, so yeah. It is what it is. This is all just hypothetical at this point, anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I as a film buff really love realism.
Yeah.
And I would prefer to, read subtitles, or one of my favorite. I've only seen it once, but it's one of my favorite films. Was it? I think Operation Valkyrie or Project Valkyrie, the one with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it's him writing a letter to his wife, and it starts in German with subtitles. And as he speaks, it flows into English.
Yeah.
And he's still writing in German. Everything's still written in German around him, but everyone's speaking English. And so it's telling us, the viewer, they were speaking German, and they're only speaking English because we're an English audience, and they're actually still speaking German. I'm okay with that, because it tells us in this world, or at least where they are, they're speaking German, but because you, the viewer, can't understand them.
See, that I would be okay with that too. Like if it was just like they're speaking Chinese, but just and for us that we're hearing that it's English, and that's kind of how I try to kind of look at movies like that. Like if they're in another country speaking English, that's just how they hear each other,
right?
And it's just how we hear it. So I don't know. I agree with you. If they would, if Disney would do that, just have subtitles, props to you guys, and I hope people would go see it, but who knows. And I think that's where we're going to end this episode of The Real Film Geeks. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Addison Lee,
and I'm Zebedee.
Remember, shoot film, not people.